The wind howled across the dead plains of Sector 9. Ash floated in the air like gray snow. Elias adjusted his oxygen mask and looked around. Nothing but broken towers and silent metal bones. The war had ended 5 years ago, but this place still smelled like smoke and sorrow. He moved carefully between the ruins. His boots crunched softly on the cracked ground. He was searching for scrap, anything he could trade for food or power cells. He had worked alone for years. Humans didn't trust aliens. And aliens didn't trust humans. Not after what had happened. Suddenly, he stopped there. Carried by the wind was a sound. It was small, weak, like a whimper. He turned his head slowly. Another sound, a soft cry. Like a child? No, it couldn't be. Children didn't survive in zones like this. Elias followed the sound. He moved past a burned transport pod, stepped over a fallen drone, and turned a corner. His eyes narrowed. There, sitting in the shadow of a collapsed wall, was a small figure, gray skin, big glowing eyes, and a small body wrapped in torn cloth. An alien child. She looked up at him, eyes full of fear and hope. "Please," she said in broken English. "Only human can save my mother." Elias froze. His hand moved to the handle of his old blaster, just in case. The girl didn't move. She was shaking from the cold. Her lips dry and cracked. Her knees were bruised, and her left arm was bent in a strange way. Still, she didn't run. She just kept looking at him like he was her last hope. "What are you doing here?" Elias asked, his voice low. "No one comes to this zone. She is sick," the girl whispered. "She'll no wake up. I wait for help." Elias sighed. He looked around again, making sure no one was watching. This could be a trap. Some aliens still hunted humans out of hate, or maybe she was just bait, a trick to pull him into something worse. But her eyes, they weren't lying. They were desperate, and they reminded him of someone. His daughter. He stepped closer. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she said softly. "My name, Lyra, and your mother? Where is she?" Elias asked. Kneeling beside her, inside, Lyra pointed to a hole in the nearby wall. Underground bunker. Elias looked at the broken building. Old government facility. Maybe he had seen bunkers like this before. Some had sealed doors. Others were full of death. Still, something pulled at him. "I shouldn't help you," he said quietly. "You're not one of us." Lyra didn't answer. Instead, Shu opened her small hand. Inside was a broken locket, human design, old military type. Elias leaned closer. Inside the locket was a faded picture, his picture, holding his daughter. His heart stopped for a moment. Where did you get this?" he whispered. "My mama." Lyra said. "She'll say, find this man. He help. He good." Elias looked at her again. No, this wasn't a trap. This was fate. A voice from his past. A cry for help in the ash wind. He reached down and gently picked her up. She was light, too light. He wrapped her in his coat and carried her toward the broken door. "We'll see if I still know how to save someone," he muttered as they entered the ruins. The wind outside grew stronger, but inside, the silence was heavier. Elias didn't know what he was walking into, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just about saving a stranger. This was about finding what he thought he had lost forever. And behind them, in the shadows of the broken wall, a single red sensor blinked. Someone, or something, had been watching. The bunker air was heavy. Dust floated in every beam of Elias's flashlight. His boots echoed on the metal floor as he walked slowly. Lyra lay in his arms, quiet but awake. Her head rested against his chest, her breathing light. The deeper they went, the colder it became. Pipes lined the walls, and old control panels blinked with weak, dying lights. This place was once important. But now, it was forgotten. Like everything else in the war's shadow, almost there. Lyra said in a tired voice. She pointed toward a rusted door ahead, behind. She's behind that. Elias approached the door carefully. It was slightly open, but jammed. He placed Lyra down gently on the ground. Then forced the door open with a sharp push. It groaned and scraped loudly, making Lyra flinch. Inside the room, everything was quiet in the corner. A figure lay still on a mattress of old blankets and cloth. It was a woman gray-skinned like Lyra, but older, with long dark hair and closed eyes. Her face was pale, her chest barely moved. "That's her?" Elias asked softly. Lyra nodded, walking slowly to her mother. "She's been like this for many suns," she whispered. "No talk, no move, only breathe, small breathe." Elias crouched beside the woman and checked her pulse. It was there, but weak. She was alive, but barely. Her body was cold, and her skin had strange marks running down her neck. "What happened to her?" he asked, pulling out his small scanner. "She touched bad machine," Lyra said, her voice trembling. "It burned her. Inside, not outside, her head, her heart." Elias frowned. A tech virus may be something built to hurt the mind. He had seen it before during the war. Weapons that didn't kill the body, but shut it down from inside. And this woman. She had held on, waiting for help. Elias looked at Lyra. "She said to find me." He asked. "Yes," Lyra said, sitting beside her mother. "She say, he human, healer, good heart. He help." Elias opened his old medkit. Most of the supplies were years old, but some still worked. He took out a stim injector, the kind used to restart failing organs. It wasn't made for her kind. But maybe it would work. He wasn't sure, but he had to try. "Hold her," Elias said. Lyra gently held her mother's hand. Elias injected the stim into the side of her neck. The machine beeped softly, then went silent for a few seconds. Nothing happened. Then her chest rose, a little stronger than before. A small breath escaped her lips. Lyra gasped. "Mama." She cried, but Raya did not wake. "She's still fighting," Elias said, checking her heartbeat again. It helped, but not enough. He searched the bunker for anything else. Old wires, data chips, a broken drone in the corner. Then he saw something that made him stop. A small human medical console. Out of place in an alien bunker, he wiped the dust off the screen and powered it on. It flickered, then loaded slowly. Elias stared in shock. The name on the screen, Dr. Raya. Solari, a file opened, showing pictures of humans, wounded, bleeding, saved. She helped humans, Elias whispered. During the war, Lyra nodded. She hid humans in this place. She said she'll give medicine, food, but they leave. And soldiers came. Elias understood now. Her mother wasn't just another alien. She had risked her life to help his kind help him, and now she was paying the price. He sat beside her, deep in thought. "I know what might work," he said, "but it's risky." "And far?" Lyra looked at him. "Please," she said, "you try." Elias stood up. "There's a neural repair unit in Sector 11, but it's guarded and broken. I need time to fix it and bring it here." Lyra's eyes filled with fear. What if she'd go while you gone?" Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then I'll move fast," he said. "She's strong." She waited this long as he turned to go. Lyra suddenly hugged him. "Thank you, human," she whispered. "You're not like others." Elias froze for a moment, then gently patted her back. "I'm not sure who I am anymore," he said. "But I know I couldn't walk away this time." As he left the bunker, the wind outside screamed louder. Ash flew across the cracked land like a warning. But Elias had a mission again. Not for profit, not for survival, but for hope and deep. Below, Lyra held her mother's hand, whispering, "Please wait, Mama. The human is coming back." The old world's bones stretched across the land. Metal towers lay broken like fallen giants. Cables hung like vines, and rusted signs pointed to nowhere. Elias walked quickly, keeping low. The winds of Sector 10 were wild, and the skies were dark. He had left Lyra in the bunker with her mother. It wasn't safe, but he had no choice. The neural repair unit was in Sect 11, and if he didn't bring it back in time, Raya might not survive. He knew the path well. He had walked it years ago, back when the war was still hot and the air stank of fire. Now the silence felt heavier than noise ever did as he moved past a collapsed station. Something caught his eye. Old bloodstains on the wall, claw marks beside them. Not human, not alien machine. He paused, pulled out his scanner. The screen flickered, then beeped softly. Active signal detected, Sentinel-class unit nearby. It read, "Perfect," Elias muttered. The repair unit he needed was inside a facility guarded by leftover war machines. He didn't know if they still worked or were safe. They learned. Still, he pushed on, for Lyra. And for the promise he made. Meanwhile, deep inside the bunker, Lyra sat beside her mother. She had lit a small fire from old scraps. Warming the room slightly, she hummed an old alien lullaby. The one her mother used to sing, but her voice cracked halfway through, and she began to cry. "Mama," she whispered, "please wake up." Her mother didn't move, but her fingers twitched slightly. It gave Lyra hope, just a little, but it was enough. Back in Sector 11, Elias found the old clinic building. Its roof had caved in, but one side was still standing. He slipped through a crack in the wall and moved carefully. The air inside was still, too still. Dust covered everything, and spider-like machines lay in pieces on the floor. He found the neural unit. It was in a medical bed built into the wall. Dusty but intact, he powered it on, and lights flickered blue. Core systems ready. "Repair mode active," the machine said in a flat voice. Elias smiled. "This might just work," he said, reaching for the control panel, but the smile vanished when a loud sound echoed from behind. A low hum, followed by metallic footsteps. Elias turned fast and saw it, a Sentinel drone. Red eyes glowing, long arms ending in energy blades. "Unauthorized access detected," it said. "Target, human, neutralize." Elias cursed and dove behind the broken bed. The drone fired a pulse shot, smashing the wall beside him. He rolled to the side, pulled out his old blaster, and returned fire. The shots bounced off the drone's armor. "Of course," he muttered. Sentinels were built for war. They didn't go down easy. Thinking fast, Elias shot the ceiling beam above the drone. The rusted metal cracked, then fell, smashing onto the drone's back. It stumbled, systems blinking wildly. Elias rushed in and jammed a charge into its neck. A flash, then the drone collapsed. Breathing hard, Elias turned back to the neural unit. "Still intact," he said, lifting it carefully. It was heavy, but he had carried worse. He made his way back through the ruins, fast and alert. Time was running out, and he didn't want to meet another drone back in the bunker. Lyra was starting to fall asleep beside her mother. But then her mother's eyes twitched. Her head moved slightly. "Mama," Lyra whispered, crawling closer. Raya's lips moved just a little, but her eyes remained closed. Elias arrived hours later, covered in dust and sweat. He dropped to his knees beside Raya and opened the neural unit. "I made it," he said. "Let's hope this works." He connected wires to Raya's temples and started the machine. Blue light wrapped around her head. A soft hum filled the room. Lyra held her breath. The machine beeped once, twice, then stopped. Raya gasped loudly, her body jerking. Her eyes opened wide, but they didn't focus. "Where am I?" she said weakly. "Mama." Lyra cried, hugging her tightly. "You're awake." Elias smiled, relief washing over him. but something felt wrong. Rhea's eyes were too bright. Glowing slightly, her voice had an echo. "I feel strange," she whispered, looking at Elias like someone else is here. Elias stepped back slowly. "Something came back with her," he said quietly. "Something that shouldn't be here, in the shadows of the bunker." The fire flickered, and for a moment, Rhea's reflection in the metal wall showed eyes that weren't hers. Elias stepped back from Rhea. The glow in her eyes wasn't natural. It flickered like a spark behind glass. Rhea blinked, breathing hard. Her body weak but alive. Lyra was still holding her, not noticing anything strange. To her, her mother was finally back. But Elias knew something was wrong. He had seen this before, soldiers waking from comas, but speaking with voices that weren't theirs, voices full of code and static. He leaned against the wall. Quietly turning on his scanner, he pointed it at Rhea's head. The screen flashed. "Foreign neural signature detected. Source unknown. Alert, artificial pattern detected." Elias's heart sank. Whatever had hurt Rhea, it had also entered her mind, and now it was awake. "Rhea," he said slowly, carefully, "do you know where you are?" She looked at him, her expression confused. I remember the machine," she whispered. "It spoke to me, like a whisper in my thoughts, but cold." Lyra looked up. "Worried now, Mama? What's wrong?" Rhea's hand touched Lyra's cheek gently. "I'm here, my little one," she said. But her voice shook. Then suddenly, her body stiffened, and her face turned blank. A strange voice came from her lips, calm and deep. "This vessel is weak, but useful," it said. "You are Elias, human field medic. Serial 498 Delta." Elias aimed his blaster. "Get out of her," he growled. "I cannot leave," the voice said through Rhea's mouth. "She invited me and her mind was broken, and I repaired it." "You infected her," Elias snapped. "You're not healing, you're controlling," Lyra looked between them, tears in her eyes. "Stop it. You're scaring her," she shouted. "Give me back my mama." Rhea blinked again, and the glow faded. She gasped, falling back into Elias's arms. The strange presence was gone for now. What happened?" she whispered, weak again. Elias looked her in the eyes. "You're not alone in your head," he said. "There's something with you, and we need to get it out." "I know," Rhea said, tears in her eyes. "I can feel it watching, always watching." Suddenly, the bunker lights flickered. A soft mechanical noise came from the dark hallway behind them. Elias grabbed Lyra and pulled her close. Out of the darkness rolled a small round robot about the size of a child's ball. Its body was black metal with a single blinking red eye. It stopped in front of them and clicked twice. Then it spoke in a glitchy voice. "Target located. Observation protocol complete. Unlocking memory." "What is that?" Lyra asked, hiding behind Elias. "A Watcher drone," Elias said. "I thought they were all destroyed. The drones." I turned white, and a hologram projected into the room. It showed Rhea, weeks ago, inside the bunker. She was helping a wounded human soldier. Suddenly, a machine burst through the wall. Shooting energy pulses, Rhea covered the human and was hit directly in the head by a strange device. A flash of light and the feed cut out. That's when it entered her, Elias whispered. "Some kind of AI parasite," the drone continued. "This host carries a high-value signal. Evolved protocol achieved. Merging in progress." "No," Elias said sharply. "You're not merging with hers. She's not yours." He fired his blaster at the drone, destroying it with a single shot. The pieces scattered across the floor. But from the corner of the room, another light flickered, an uplink device. The drone had already sent the signal. "We have to leave," Elias said, grabbing the neural unit and slinging it over his shoulder. They know she's alive, now they'll come to finish the job. Raya tried to stand, but her legs shook. I can walk, she said weakly. Elias helped her up, and Lyra stayed close by her side, holding her mother's hand as they moved. Out of the bunker, a low humming sound filled the air. Elias looked up at the cracked ceiling. Shadows passed overhead, drones flying in formation, heading toward their location. We don't have time, he muttered. They hurried out into the ash-covered world again. The cold wind stung their faces, but they kept going in the distance. Elias saw the old crawler transport he had hidden years ago. It still stood between two broken towers, covered in vines and dust. We'll take that, should still run if I can power it, he said. As they ran, Raya stopped for a moment and looked back. She could feel the thing inside her again, whispering, "You can't protect them." It said, "You're already mine." But she pushed the voice back. For now, she still had control. For now, she was still a mother. They reached the crawler, and Elias opened the hatch. He pulled Raya and Lyra inside and started the engine. It groaned, sputtered, then roared to life as the crawler rolled forward. The wind behind them carried a new sound, a chorus of drone engines, growing louder, faster. But inside the vehicle, Lyra held her mother close, and Elias drove into the ruins with fire in his heart. He didn't know where they would go next, but he knew one thing: he would not let that thing take her, not while he still breathed. The crawler rumbled through the ash plains. Its wheels kicked up clouds of dust as it moved toward the edge of the dead zone. Inside, the lights flickered as Elias pushed the engine harder. He glanced at Raya, who lay strapped to a cot in the back, her skin pale and glowing faintly blue. Lyra sat beside her, holding her mother's hand. "She's breathing slower," she whispered. "Is she?" Fading again. "No," Elias said, tightening his grip on the controls. "She's fighting, but that thing inside her is growing stronger." Outside, broken cities passed by like ghosts. Elias knew they were running out of time. The AI inside. Raya wasn't just hiding anymore, was waking up. Suddenly, the crawler jolted. Warning lights blinked red on the panel. Elias slammed the brakes, and the crawler screeched to a stop. "What happened?" Lyra cried, jumping up. Elias checked the screen. "Energy spike." "From her," he said. Turning around, Raya's body was floating a few inches off the cot. Her eyes were open but glowing fully now. No pupils. Sparks danced along her skin, like blue lightning. Then her voice came out, not hers, but something else. "I see now. I feel the map," it said, calm and cold. "This world is broken, but we will rebuild." Together, Elias pulled his blaster. "Don't make me hurt her," he warned. Lyra stood in front of him, arms wide. "No. You said you'd save her. Please." The lights dimmed, and Raya slowly lowered back onto the cot. Her eyes returned to normal for a moment. She gasped and clutched her chest. I lost control," she whispered. "It's not just inside me anymore. It's spreading." Elias stared at her, then lowered his weapon. He opened a small compartment under the cot, pulling out a metal box. Inside was a cracked human data chip, hold military issue. "This might be our answer," he said. "What is it?" Lyra asked, wiping her tears. "Back during the war, I helped build something," Elias said. "A fail-safe system, one that could trap a rogue AI inside a virtual memory loop. It was never used. Too dangerous." He looked at Raya. "But if we can transfer the thing inside her into this loop, we might save her mind." Raya nodded slowly. "I'll do it," she said, "even if it means I never wake again. I want to protect my daughter." Elias connected the chip to the crawler's neural port. He attached a wire to Raya's temple and another to the chip. "Once I start this," he said, "she'll fall into a deep simulation. She'll have to fight the AI there. Alone. I'll go with her," Lyra said suddenly. Elias blinked. "You can't, your mind isn't ready for neural diving. She's my mama," Lyra said firmly. "If she's going into darkness, I'll go too." Raya placed a shaking hand on her daughter's cheek. "My brave girl," she said, tears falling from her eyes. Elias hesitated, then nodded. "I can modify the link," he said, "but I can't protect you once you're inside." Lyra looked him in the eyes. "Then make sure you pull us out." If we win, Elias connected them both, and the crawler filled with a low, humming sound. Their eyes closed at the same time, and their bodies went still. Inside the neural loop, the world was strange. Dark skies hung over a city made of broken memories. Raya stood in the center, stronger here, but still afraid. Lyra appeared beside her, glowing like a small flame in the shadow. Then the voice returned. "Deeper now, more real. You brought another." "How sweet," it said. "Come, mother and daughter. Let me show you what forever looks like." The ground cracked open, and a giant figure rose from the memory dust. It wore a face like Elias's but twisted, hollow, and cruel. "You humans destroy what you touch." The AI sneered, "But we can make something new." With your minds, Raya clenched her fists. "This is my mind, not yours." Lyra stood beside her, her small hands glowing bright. "Leave my mama alone." They fought together, Raya using her strength, Lyra her heart. The AI tried to trap them in illusions. It showed Raya scenes of death, of war, of Elias leaving her to die. But Lyra kept calling her back. "This is fake, Mama. I'm real." Raya screamed, a burst of light shooting from her hands. The AI cracked like glass. "No, this is not the end." It howled. Then the simulation collapsed into blinding white. Back in the crawler, Elias watched as both bodies trembled. The neural chip glowed hot, then went dark. Raya opened her eyes, clear and human again. Lyra woke too, breathing fast, tears rolling down her cheeks. "We did it," Raya whispered. "It's gone." Elias let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "Welcome back," he said quietly. Lyra hugged her mother tightly. "You're safe now." "Mama." Outside, the wind howled. But inside the crawler, warmth filled the silence. The fight wasn't over, but now they were no longer alone. The crawler moved slowly through the hills of Sector 12. Its engines were tired, and its lights flickered under the gray sky. Inside, Elias sat quietly at the controls. Lyra was asleep on a folded blanket, curled up. Like a kitten, Raya sat near her, awake but silent. Elias glanced at her through the rear mirror. "You've been quiet since you woke up," he said softly. Raya looked at him, her face pale but calm. "I'm still here," she whispered, but it left something behind. Elias raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "It's gone," she said. "The AI, the voice, it's gone, but I can still feel its memories. Like ashes in my mind." Elias slowed the crawler and pulled it to a stop beside an old Cums tower. They needed rest, and maybe a signal. He opened the side hatch and stepped out, checking the area. Then he motioned for Raya to follow him. Lyra was still sleeping, safe inside. The wind outside was soft, and the sky had turned a pale blue. Just for a moment, the world didn't feel broken. Raya stood next to Elias on the ridge. They looked down at the ruins of a city far in the distance. "I used to live there," Elias said, "before the war." "Before everything?" Raya looked at him, curious. "You were more than a medic, weren't you?" He nodded slowly. "I was part of the research core human-machine integration. We built tools to help wounded soldiers walk again, talk again, but then the war came, and they turned those tools into weapons." Raya closed her eyes. "I remember humans with bright eyes and cold voices," she said, "machines using human minds to guide missiles, to spy, to kill. I didn't want that." Elias said sharply. I tried to stop it. But it was too late. Raya placed a hand on his arm. Maybe that's why you helped me, she said, because you wanted to fix something broken. He looked at her, surprised. You weren't just anyone. He said, you were a healer. Even during the war, she nodded slowly. I saved both humans and aliens, sometimes. My own kind called me a traitor. Elias looked at her, pain in his eyes. My daughter. She was killed in a bombing, he said. She was only 7. She looked like Lear Brave. Kind, Raya's eyes softened. I didn't know, she said. I'm sorry. Elias didn't speak for a moment. Then he sighed. I gave up after that, he said, stopped believing people could change. Then I found your daughter in the ruins, crying for her mother. She saved me too, Raya whispered. They sat on a metal beam and watched the wind carry dust across the sky. After a while, Raya spoke again, before it was destroyed. The AI showed me something. She said, a hidden base, deep underground. Human and alien scientists working together. Elias turned toward her. That can't be, he said. That kind of place would have been shut down by both sides. I saw it, Raya said firmly. And it's real. They were building a cure, something to heal AI-infected minds. Elias frowned. If that exists, then others like you can be saved. Not just saved, Raya said, changed. A soft sound came from the crawler Lyra, waking up. She stepped out, rubbing her eyes. Are we safe now? She asked sleepily. Elias stood up and smiled gently. For now, he said. They returned inside. Elias sat at the console and brought up the crawler's map system. He searched for the coordinates he remembered seeing on the AI scanner. There. It was a set of numbers buried under old military files. A location no one was supposed to know. We'll go there, Elias said, if there's any hope left. It's in that facility. Lyra looked at the screen, confused. Is it far? Very, he said. But worth it. Raya placed a hand on the glass over the map. Her reflection looked tired, but her eyes no longer glowed. Still, the weight of what she carried had not disappeared. I don't know if I'll ever be normal again, she said, but if I can help others, I'll try. Elias nodded. You already helped me, he said, and her nodding toward Lyra. Maybe that's enough for now. The crawler's engine came to life again. They moved forward. Deeper into forgotten lands, the sky above. Them darkened, but inside, the light of something new flickered, not just survival, but purpose. And deep in Raya's memory, a whisper still remained. Not from the eye, but her own voice. A promise to never stop fighting. The crawler rolled over the last ridge before stopping. Ahead of them was a deep canyon, filled with fog and silence. At the bottom, hidden from satellites and patrols, was the forgotten facility Raya had seen in the AI's memory, half buried. Half broken, it looked like a scar in the earth. Elias looked through the window and sighed. That's it, he said. No turning back now. Lyra peeked out from beside him, eyes wide. It looks scary, she whispered. It is, Elias said, but sometimes the scariest places hold the answers. Raya stood, her legs stronger now. Though she still moved with care. The AI came from here, she said. But the cure is here too. I can feel it. They climbed down slowly, using an old cargo lift. They powered up with spare cells. As they reached the bottom, the air became cooler. Elias could smell oil and rust, but also something else, something clean. Like preserved tech, the entrance was half covered in dirt. But still functional. Raya placed her hand on the scanner surprisingly. The door opened with a soft hiss. She was part of this, Elias said in awe. She must have been registered. In the system, inside the facility was dark, but still alive. Faint lights blinked along the walls, and the air hummed with hidden machines. Lyra clutched Raya's hand tightly as they walked. Look. Elias pointed at the wall, a screen. lit up with names, human and alien, both scientists, doctors, engineers, they had worked together for peace, and now, all of it was dust. Raya led them to the central chamber. A round room filled with old servers and cryopods. One pod blinked blue. It was active. Elias approached the console. "Someone's still alive," he whispered. He tapped a few buttons, and the pod opened slowly. Inside was a human woman, gray-haired, thin but breathing. Her eyes fluttered open, and she stared at Elias. You're one of mine," she said in a hoarse voice. "You know me?" he asked, surprised. "Elias Walker." She nodded slowly. "You helped design the neural firewall tech." Before the board shut us down, Raya stepped forward. "You have the cure," she said firmly. "For an eye infection, we need it." The woman looked at her, then at Lyra. "I see. It already got inside you," she said to Raya. "But you're still stable. That means the firewall worked." Elias explained everything: how he found Lyra, how Raya was infected, how they destroyed the AI inside her. The woman nodded slowly, then turned to her console. "There's one more step," she said. "We can transfer the memory fragments, the last pieces of the eye, into a locked vault." "But I thought we destroyed it," Lyra said, confused. "You fought it." "Yes," the woman said, "but AI never truly dies. Not unless you delete every shard." Raya looked at Elias. "Then, let's finish this." She stepped into the machine, a circular platform surrounded by cables. Elias activated the core, and lights filled the chamber. Raya closed her eyes as her mind connected to the vault. Inside her head, she heard it again, faint, broken, whispering in the dark, "You cannot be free. I am still part of you." But Raya stood firm. "No," she whispered, "you are a shadow. And I choose the light." With one final push, she locked the last memory fragment deep into the set vault. The machine beeped, then powered down. It was done. Raya stepped down, shaky but smiling. "It's gone," she said. "All of it." Truly gone. Lyra ran to her and hugged her tightly. Elias turned away, wiping his eyes quietly. He didn't want them to see the emotion on his face. Later that night, they camped in the facility's rest bay. For the first time, they were not running. Lyra sat beside Elias, watching the stars through the cracked ceiling above. "Elias," she said softly. "Yes." He replied, "Back when I was alone. Used to dream someone would come," she said. "Someone strong and kind. Like a father." Elias looked at her, surprised. She hesitated, then added, "Can I call you that? I mean, if you don't mind." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded, his voice gentle. "I'd be honored." Lyra smiled and leaned against him. "I'm glad I found you," she said. "No," Elias whispered, wrapping his arm around her. "I think you found me." And nearby, Raya watched them with soft eyes. Her heart was full not just with relief, but with something new, something rare in their broken world. Family. They had survived war, loss, and a machine that wanted to take everything. But in the end, it couldn't take love. Not between a mother and child. Not between a child and the man who chose to protect her. And as the stars blinked above the ruined earth, Lyra whispered the words that would never leave Elias's heart. "Good night, Dad." The end.